Welcome to DOS Won't Hunt. I'm Zhao Pierre Ruth for Information Week. And today we're going to be talking a bit about backup, disaster recovery, security, zero trust, and working on a balance amongst those things. Today I'm joined by Dale Zabriskie, Field CISO for Cohesity. And I'm also joined by Kim Larsen, who is also a CISO for Keepit. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
So Dale, or Dr. Z, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your work at Cohesity, please?
Well, I've been at Cohesity here just a little under 2 years. I've spent 40 years in the tech industry, and about half of that in cybersecurity as a CISSP and a certified in cloud security. 16 years as the global evangelist for Symantec back in the day. And now I'm in the Pacific Northwest of the United States, and it's my opportunity to have conversations with our customers around the value of protecting your data and classification and the aspect of the importance of secondary data in the world of business resiliency.
Great. Thank you so much for that. And Kim, can you please share a little bit about your background with our audience, please?
Thank you. I've only been with Keepit for a few weeks, actually, but my background is from the National Intelligence Service in Denmark, where I was a delegate to NATO and EU with regards to compliance and IT solutions. Then I went to Systematic for a number of years, who are a provider of battle command systems. So I have a different background than Dale.
Great. Well, again, both thank you so much for making yourselves available today. So let's start, I guess, at the root of things. When we're looking at, how organizations are operating, concerned about making sure they've got their backup systems and, disaster recovery plans in place, what are some potential risks that can emerge and could surface when those resources, which need to be there, are looked to or relied upon? What are some of the, kind of potential security concerns? So kind of lay the groundwork for what we're then speaking about, like why it's important to have security kind of working in tandem with that. Kim, if you could actually start off with that.
Yeah. I would say backup is a cornerstone of your security. When you see serious ransomware attacks and similar very serious attack, you need to get back to a state where you trust your systems and you trust your infrastructure. And the backup system is the cornerstone of that. I think in the past, it has been something that was just someone was taking care of the backup, and you didn't test it like that often. But seeing into NIS2 for Europe and other regulations, it needs to be a cornerstone. It needs to be well proven, and it needs to be on the C-levels agenda.
Great. Dr. Z, do you have some follow-up to that?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I love the cornerstone analogy is so very true. And, we've evolved now to where the bad guys are getting in our systems and staying in there. IBM puts out a great report, the cost of a data breach report, that in February 2023's report told us that the average time the bad guys are in our systems until we realize it is over 200 days. And so we're backing them up. Any malware, any anomalies that exist there, we're just backing it up over and over again until we're aware that it's there. And so, moving, the history is from replication. Can I go from A to B? Yes, I can. That's a functional process. Disaster recovery builds on that, where we bring lots of people and processes and technology into it. But what has to be taken into consideration and why you back up your data is business continuity. It's business resiliency, so that if something occurs, and it might not be ransomware, right? Be the well-meaning stupid person that does something, right? It's going to bring your system down. You've got to be able to recover from a specific period of time that is appropriate to your business needs and how you need to be up and running, where you need to be up and running. And you need to have confidence that that backup that you're trying to restore from is clean. Not just that the checksum ran and that, that's a good backup. I know it's a good backup, but that it's not bringing any malware back into the system. So it's a critical function that the other point, Kim, that you made about testing is so critical. Have the discipline to test those processes of recovery so that when the time comes, you're not doing the rehearsal in the middle of the crisis.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. With this, typically, or maybe not typically, but often, are there just kind of traps that have been essentially laid that are waiting for when an organization is looking to their backup, that, like, somebody's waiting, the bad actors are waiting for the day that there's that code that's waiting for the particular instance to kind of give them like a new opportunity? Or is there more of a kind of just like this is just kind of reintroducing something that just might not have been noticed for a long time? I'm just trying to get a sense of like how active or passive the potential bad actors might be in terms of infiltrating, activating some malware, what have you, in a system.
Well, to continue on, let me just, the aspect of how long are they in your system, right? There's some argument to say that the actor's dwell time is reducing, but this report shows us that, they're in there, we're just not aware of it. So the original, attacks of ransomware were, if you call it a 1.0, where they go in and they encrypt your data so you can't do anything. It was easy to combat that because it would just spin up a backup and run forward. And so that's become the backup. The secondary data has become a repository for the bad guys to place payloads and malware that's hidden and hard to find and hard to be aware of, so that at a specific time it can be exploited, it can be detonated. And so we have the 2.0 of ransomware, is where your data has been encrypted and your backups have been encrypted or deleted, and so they're not there. Your standard lifeline that you think about is not there, and so we do tend to back things. We've been doing it for so long, we don't think about it. It's just there. But when you need it, you have to ensure that it's clean and that it's capable of doing what you want it to do. So there's a lot of strategy on the bad actor side of using secondary data as a ploy and as a place for payloads that are often very, very difficult to find, for sure.
Yeah, I fully agree, Dale. And SolarWind was a good example of that, where you have to do a deep analysis and cooperate with the government and others in order to find the state where you actually could go back to a safe state. And that's really difficult. Ransomware, it's very obvious. You see it there, and you sort of it's there, and you know when it started. You didn't know when the infection was actually done. But SolarWind and similar very difficult to find attacks, that's another story. And then you need a backup that goes way back in order to get back to a safe state.
Yeah, your manual process, in that point, you want to be able to restore as close to the incident as possible. I mean, that's often hard to do because you got to go way back. Kim, that's a great point, to where you have a clean copy to work with, but then you think about what business has transpired since then. Now you've got a lot of manual work to get back up to, to where you were.
And as you also mentioned, was that they wait for you to actually activate the backup so that they can actually maybe get deeper into your system where you wasn't aware of another more serious attack. So it's very complicated, actually, and you need to have a solid backup plan and to have it part of your business continuity plan for your company's resilience.
What are some of the ways, and thank you both for that, what were some of the ways where the bad actors initially even get into the system? What's some of the typical kind of like cases of like, this is, how they infiltrated to even get there in the first place, to lie in wait, like a trapdoor spider, if you will.
Oh, just, yeah. I mean, I'm going like, well, check.
Yeah, phishing, whatever. If we start with the phishing, that's the most obvious. Tricking people into, luring people into actually attack something, or to pull. It's very. You pull a link, you push a link. It's very obvious, and then you're trapped. And that's also about having endpoint protection. That's another story than the backup, but it starts with having a complete cybersecurity plan that goes from the user to the backup systems to your partners in the cloud. You need to look at all the steps in order to protect yourself. But it starts with the users most often.
Yeah, I think as IT likes to call users, the carbon-based life form units, right, that are out there. There's interesting stat about phishing, and that 17% is kind of the average of credential phishing, right? If somebody sends you an email that says, "Hey, I need help logging in," or "I need that," or whatever, 17% is about how many is the percentage of the click rate, right? But if that email is followed up by a phone call, if somebody knows who you are in the system and they send you an email and then they follow up and say, "Hi, this is Bob. I sent you an email about blah, blah, blah," that number triples and becomes about 54%. So over half of the time, they're going to be successful in getting in. You look at one of the major, over the last year, major incidents is the MGM and Caesars attack by Scattered Spider, which there's no malware at all. I kind of think the term ransomware is a little bit of a misnomer, because there's often no malware. There's just this access, right, that gets in. And that's a good example of that, where they spoofed being someone who had high level access to the Okta authentication system at MGM. They figured that out through LinkedIn, through social engineering. They called the help desk, they got in, and then they had super admin Okta access, which led them to getting super admin Azure access. And so if you're a gamer, that's God mode, basically. You're just in there and you're able to do all that you can. And so one of the things I often tell organizations, and I'll ask them, I say, "How many people in your organization have high level admin access?" And I give them the answer. And the answer is 2. Too many. There's way too many people, and business evolves that way, right? And so, you talk about planning and rehearsing. These are other things that need to be looked at. The role-based access control, appropriate access that will cut down that threat vector and the threat surface a lot. So, they're getting in. Phishing's number 1, business email compromise is number 2. But then there's just all sorts of ways that they're going to get in.
As you mentioned, the 2-factor, because you see the email, and then you have, especially WhatsApp. I've seen a lot of times that people are approached through WhatsApps and saying, "Hey, I sent you this email. Can you please help me?" So they're getting more intelligent. And later, when we get to the next subject, AI, that's a whole other story for the future. But it's happening, and it's happening all the time, and people are very intelligent on it.
Can we speak? You mentioned AI. Can we speak about how the rigors of zero trust and security are just overall evolving? Maybe specific to AI, but just overall, what are some of the ways that the response and defenses are having to change? I guess broadly, but also specifically to what it then means to disaster recovery and backup. And Kim, if you could lead on that.
They mentioned the privilege rights, and I had a general manager who said, "I want the people who want admin rights, they need to come to me, and then they can hit the computer behind me because everybody wants privilege rights, especially if you're in a software company or because you are God and you want to do everything without being interrupted." And that is the main factor, the main threat and risk to companies. That is that you get these privilege rights through and actually get access to the whole system.
Yeah, it is. We're so used to that, right? And I had a friend who's a programmer, went to work for a company, and somebody walked up to him about a week into his tenure there and said, "Hey, I need to work on this contract that you've got. What's your password?" And he was like, "Excuse me?" And that was a culture at that company. So those are kind of extremes, but I think what we're seeing in this world of AI, one of the most fascinating and terrifying things that we've had come across in a long time, is the two-edged sword, where there's a lot of value to organizations in understanding their data and then understanding what's in their data that could hurt them, and giving that visibility.